Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here, still on the kick of watching old stuff on the WWE Network. For this time, we travel back to 2003 Monday Night Raw. This, of course, is from January, February, March, April, May. May 26th of 2003. This, of course, is Triple H versus Ric Flair on WWE's Monday Night Raw. This was a very weird Raw to me, that honestly, for the very first time I watched this Raw, I was not watching wrestling. I had went into Circuit City, and I found at this time the Ric Flair The Ultimate Collection. At this point, I was not watching WWE at this point. This DVD says it came out in 2003, but I probably honestly bought this in 2004, maybe, because I didn't buy it, fresh, right when it was on the shelves. I just happened to be in there, had $20 in my pocket, and said, how badass is this? I honestly didn't know what it was. I honestly thought it was going to be a lot like a lot of the DVDs that had come out before that time, like Hulk Rules or the NWO, where basically they were going to have like a documentary. And I thought, like, a Ric Flair documentary, that's going to be awesome. That ended up not being what this was. At WWE in 2002, 2003, they were just starting to make DVDs. That I believe this was the first multi-disc set they made that was not a WrestleMania. Ric Flair, a guy that deserves to have, the biggest, hugest set of all time. This was called the Ultimate Ric Flair Collection, if you're playing at home and didn't know what this was. Instead of having a documentary, it really just had some of the biggest matches, which was packed with some of the promos that led up to it, some of the interviews that happened after the match, guys talking about it. But in here, they talk about, Harley Race in 83, Dusty Rhodes in 85, Barry Windham in 87, Ricky Steamboat in 89, Terry Funk in 89, the 1982 Royal Rumble, Sting in whatever year that was with the Clash of Champions, and then a special night in Greensville is what ends this, this set on disc 3, where basically Ric Flair and Triple H battle it out. I didn't know, because I don't think at the time it had the promo which set this match up. It just had these two going at it. Ric Flair, who was, I guess you can say the manager of Triple H at the time, didn't really make sense that these guys would really go out there and really have a match where they competed against each other. Watching tonight on the WWE Network, watching the old school Raw, made sense. Basically, it was Stone Cold Steve Austin, who was the sheriff at the point, I guess you can say the commissioner of Raw, with Eric Bischoff, basically was telling Triple H that he was letting the law down, they needed to have a main event, and that Triple H was going to wrestle that night. Triple H kept on saying he didn't want to, so Stone Cold gave him the opportunity to pick his opponent, as long as his opponent was a former World Heavyweight Champion. So I believe at this point he had Kevin Nash, he had Shawn Michaels, he had Kane, maybe there was a few other people to pick from, but Triple H, looking for the easy way to weasel out, said that he wanted to compete against his good buddy Ric Flair, the greatest World Heavyweight Champion of all time. The match was set. They go into the back. WWE, cameras are there filming live on Monday Night Raw. Triple H basically trying to make a behind-the-scenes agreement with Ric Flair that everyone can see, but they're treating it like Stone Cold Steve Austin is not going to know, and they're going to pull the wool over his eyes. Basically, they're trying to get Ric Flair to just lie down, which you can honestly see that Ric Flair wants to do for his friend, but is having some troubles with it. Once Triple H leaves Ric Flair alone to go off and, I guess, get ready to wrestle that night, Shawn Michaels comes into his dressing room. Shawn Michaels approaches Ric Flair saying that he is the greatest World Heavyweight Champion of all time. Back in the day, he used to call himself the measuring stick that champions have to live up to in order to be the best. To be the man, you gotta beat the man. That's the easiest way to put it. This inspirational speech gets Ric Flair to the point where he knows that he has to go out there and give his best. He goes in and and he cuts a promo on Triple H, basically saying that he ain't laying down for nobody, and he's going to go out there and he wants to prove that he can become World Heavyweight Champion one more time. This is a great match. In the setup to the building of Evolution, Triple H and Ric Flair tell the story of basically Triple H pulling Ric Flair aside and reminding him that he is Ric Flair, trying to regain the confidence that WCW and Vince Russo beat out of him back in 2000 and 2001, where basically, Flair wasn't even wanting to be an in-ring competitor. He wanted to just be the commissioner of Raw. He wanted to be, a manager. They were trying to find a role for him. He had wrestled a few matches along the way, but it's not really what he wanted to do. We didn't know we were going to get Ric Flair all the way until WrestleMania 24. I'm not the best with years and manias, but I'm thinking we're around the reign of maybe WrestleMania 19 or WrestleMania 20. I don't know what Flair did at 19, if he did anything at all. I know at 18, he had the match against Taker. I know at 20, he had the match with him, Batista and Orton going up against Rock and Mankind. I wish I knew what he did at 19, but I can't think. Maybe he just managed Triple H against Booker T in that match that nobody wants to remember. But this is a really good match. This is really fun. A lot like the match that I talked about yesterday with the 2002 match. Basically, Ric Flair had Triple H's number. Triple H made Flair look like he was $1 million. At one point, we even saw Triple H seeing that he couldn't beat Flair straight up. And even though this was his good buddy, this was his manager, he was going to take any tack that he could to try and gain a one-up in this match. And basically, we had Triple H grab the World Heavyweight Championship and try and attack Ric Flair. But Flair was able to duck it. He was able to give Triple H the low blow to the balls, where Flair was able to actually use the World Heavyweight Championship, knocking him down. Got him to the point where Flair was able to cover Triple H, get the referee back into the match, get the 1-2 kick out. Flair thought that the only way that he was going to be able to put it away was going for the figure four right there in the middle of the ring. And as he was twisting Triple H up, Triple H picked his foot up, put it into the gut of Ric Flair, hitting him into the turnbuckle where he was able to get up, strap in the pedigree, and knock him down. 1, 2, 3, Triple H is the victor, and as he is able to run off from the ring with his victory, Kevin Nash comes down, basically to stand up and say that he's trying to challenge for the championship. Triple H makes his escape, running all the way up to the top of the ramp, where he's basically met by Stone Cold Steve Austin, who basically says that, in a month, we're going to have a Hell in a Cell match, Bad Blood, we're going to have Triple H versus Kevin Nash. Honestly, it might have been surpassed by this point, but at the time, one of the worst Hell in a Cell matches of all time. Basically with this, basically the show ends and we have the locker room empty. Baby faces, heels, everyone comes down to the ring. Just telling Ric Flair in his hometown that he had one of the best matches of his career. It's great to have him back. Stone Cold Steve Austin is having a beer bash. We have Vince, we have Shane, we have Stephanie, all make their way out of the ring. They have their good moment in the sun before Triple H makes his way back down to the ring with the World Heavyweight Championship. At this point, Ric Flair tries to stick out his hand and shake his hand. Triple H waves him off, basically saying that he's the man, takes the championship off of his shoulder, puts it right on Flair's shoulder. At this point, we have Bully Ray Dudley, and I think one of the dudes from 3 Minute Warning pick up Flair and just sort of toast him off as Flair's holding a beer. He's crying. He can't hold his emotions. And, they just toast to one of the greatest performers of all time. I can honestly tell you that I don't think they did this for the Ric Flair collection, but it is a very weird moment in history where just basically WWE, being in North Carolina, being in Flair's hometown, wanted to toast the greatest performer of all time, one of the best wrestlers we've ever seen. It's a great moment. It's honestly one of the reasons to have this DVD. I know that they came out with the definitive collection after this one, but this was a great one to have. And I wonder why they even have Undertaker and Flair on the back, unless that's from the 92 Rumble, and I don't remember. But we'll take a look at this DVD in a few days, and I'll see you guys down the road.